Hello friends, this is Todd up in Corey, Pennsylvania. I haven't done a recording in a while, but I did finally manage to grab all the recordings I had on YouTube and on Facebook and in my own computer, which were sometimes lost in places I didn't even know I had. And I opened up a YouTube channel. I think folk music is going to it will survive. It's just hard now because we don't have our open mics and our song circles and our festivals and all the ways in which we share our music. But we live in this computer, internet age, and Facebook and YouTube and so on. This is a Wildwood flower Autoharp. It's one of many that I've owned over the years. All of a sudden, many of them they're so pretty with that Ivan Styles Wildwood flower artwork around the sound hole. These were probably developed in the United States, but the first ones were built in Japan in 1983, and for a couple of years they came out as single key D Autoharps. And I don't know why I've been been drawn to them, or they've been drawn to me, but I've had a lot of them and I've given them away to people, and now I think I'm going to keep them. Now I have 3, so I put them in the sequence of the circle of fifths. So this one with the buck lumber chord bars plays in D and A. And then I have 2 others that I've just recently acquired with, these are the Fladmark bars in cherry. And this one plays in A and E, and then the third one plays in E and B. So that's a little nerdy Autoharp stuff for you, but I think I'm going to do some recordings on these Wildwood flowers and see what they sound like in different keys with different songs. I think we go through cycles as Autoharp players, and I started playing single key Autoharps in 1981 or 80 or so, so that goes back 40 years, which is hard to believe because I've never really been a very good Autoharp player, but I've always loved the Autoharp, and I've done a lot of experimenting and tried different tunings and different chord bar configurations, and I was getting a little bored with what I had, so I wanted to do something a little bit different. And now I have a new chord bar arrangement, which because I've always had this this minor 2/7, which in the key of D, which I'm playing in, is an E minor 7th. But it was always in an awkward place. Now it's like right where I would put my finger to play the 4 chord, the G chord, or the 2 chord, the E minor chord. And I always love this flatted 7th chord, and you don't get that on a 2-key harp for the upper key, the northernmost key, the one that's closest to the tuning pins. But I figured out that if I put one C note in this string array and made it a C add 9, that I could play that D progression to a C back to D. And I'm not going to do that in this song. I'll probably do it on one of the other Autoharps. But my point is that as we develop our understanding of chords and how we like to use our chords in the playing of our music, sometimes you have to go back to square one and refigure out how you do things. I realized that most of the Autoharps that I had, which were 2 keys, these, if I had 15, and this bottommost row of chords I was hardly ever using, because I tend to want to go to the chords that are up above as opposed to the chords that are down below. So I got rid of a row down here and put it up on the top, and found some chords that I could reach a lot easier than I had them before. Anyway, oh, the Dutchman's not the kind of man who keep his thumb jammed in the dam, holds his dreams in. That's a secret only Margaret knows. And Amsterdam is golden. In the morning Margaret brings him breakfast. She believes him. Thinks the tulips bloom beneath the snow. He's mad as he can be, but Margaret only sees that sometimes. Sometimes she sees her unborn children in his eyes. Let us go to the banks of the ocean. The walls rise above the Zuider Zee. Long ago I used to be a young man, but dear Margaret remembers that for me. Oh, the Dutchman still wears wooden shoes. His cap and coat are packed with love that Margaret sewed him. Sometimes he thinks he's still in Rotterdam. He watches tugboats down canals and calls out to them when he thinks he knows the captain. Margaret comes to take him home again to unforgiving streets that trip him while she holds his arm. Sometimes he thinks that he's alone, calls her name. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuider Zee. Long ago I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that for me. Oh, the windmills whirl the winter in. She wraps his muffler tighter. They sit in the kitchen. Tea with whiskey keeps away the dew. He sees her for a moment, calls her name. She makes the bed up singing some old love song. She learned it when the tune was very new. They hum a line or two, he hums together in the dark. The Dutchman falls asleep and Margaret blows the candle out. Let us go to the banks of the ocean, where the walls rise above the Zuider Zee. Long ago I used to be a young man, and dear Margaret remembers that for me. Well, that's The Dutchman by the great Michael Smith, songwriter from Chicago. He passed away in the last year or so. A lot of people have recorded that. It became popular in Irish music. Ann Hills has done a beautiful job on it. What I figured out with the Autoharp in the way that I like to play it is that I've always had this core of chords. I call them the diatonic six. So if I'm playing in D, I got to have a D, G, an A, and then the relative minors, B minor, E minor, F sharp minor, and all these other chords that surround it were extraneous from what I learned on, and so I had to learn how to use them eventually. And I've tried all the different major sevenths, minor sevenths, prisms, all more chords than I would ever know what to do with. But what I found is that it's easy for me to switch from a 3-note chord, which I have generally in the center row, to a 4-note parallel chord, which is almost the same chord, but it adds another note. So if I play that D, I can switch back and forth between D and D add 9, G and G add 9, A and A7, so my 3-note chord becomes a 4-note chord. And by playing it with my finger in a position where I can play either one of those two chords just by lifting up or pressing down, I can constantly shift and shape the chord depending on how I'm feeling about the song at that particular point in time and how I want to express the verses and so on. My feeling was that if you're going to create a chord bar design and you have one particular kind of chord, in this case I have a minor 7th chord up here, you shouldn't just have one, you should have one for each of the chord tiers that you're playing in. So if I have one for my G tier, I should have the B minor 7 for D, I should have the F sharp minor 7th for A, but I just don't have room for those, and I never quite figured out how they all fit together. But the fact that I'm playing a D chord, I can play that G chord, I can play the G add 9 chord, and I can play the G6 chord, and each one is a variation on what would normally be called the 4 chord of that progression. I will let you know when these things get posted into my YouTube page. You have to go to Todd Richard Crowley, because when I made the page up, there were already a bunch of Todd Crowleys. I don't know them. I don't know where they're from or where they're, what their pages are about. But I'm the only Todd Richard Crowley that I know of on Facebook. So I will be doing some songs, and in doing those songs, I will also share with you some things that I've learned by 40 years of having Autoharp in my life, and particularly the last 30 years of experimenting with all different kinds of tunings and chord progressions and chord arrangements, and I'm happy to let people have that stuff. Some of the stuff I dream up is, I have an idea for one now. I've got a Autoharp back there. I haven't even put strings on it yet, but I'm figuring out I want to have a string of notes at least in the first 8 strings that are like the strings on a 12-string guitar, where they're pairs of strings that are an octave apart, and I can do that by rearranging some of the wound strings, and I'm anxious to see how that sounds. So I haven't run out of ideas yet. I'm just waiting to see what comes up next, and I'm happy to share with you. So I'll say goodbye for today, and we'll see each other the next time.